Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure how many people are going to be watching. I haven't advertised this. This is one of those things that it just came into my head. Start doing lunchtime live streams. So I was thinking a lot of people, if there are any people still working offices, a lot of people working offices, they're sitting at the computers at lunchtime. They're maybe going through the BBC News. They're getting completely brainwashed by all the propaganda. Why not provide them something from our movement that's going to talk sensibly about what's going on and what's going on in the country? So if you're watching this, jump into the comments. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that you can see me and hear what I'm saying. I think there's 22 people in there so far. So yeah, just let me know, and let me know any subjects you want to talk about, because one of the things that I think has been really, hi Dagman, one of the things I think that's been really interested, it's after time for tea, it's afternoon. It's afternoon where we are. It's coming up to 1 o'clock. One of the things I think that's interesting about what's happening at the minute is this Trump presidency, and I'm sure almost everybody that watches my channel, I mean, I know there's a lot of things that we don't agree on, but I'm sure that as many people as watch my channel, 90% of you are absolutely over the moon about what's happened in America, over the moon about the way Trump's working and what he's done. And sound of, yeah, all good with sound of everyone. Yeah, that's the other thing. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah, just give me a thumbs up so I know that the audio is working. So yeah, everybody is good. Everybody's really excited about Trump. And I was watching last night, and I was just flicking through YouTube, as you do. It's probably about 11:30, coming up to 12 o'clock. I was flicking through YouTube, and I got a live stream of Trump, and he was talking to Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, which are the creators of ChatGPT. There was an investment banker there, and there was the head of Oracle there. So these are three of the most powerful men in IT in America. There was a bank that's that basically finances IT startups, especially focusing on AI. There was the guy from Oracle, Sam Altman, and Trump had brought these guys in. And I don't believe this would have happened. I don't believe this would have happened if Biden had still been in power, because Trump's brought these guys in. They have invested. Now, when you hear this, they've invested $500 billion in AI in the United States on the first day of Trump's presidency. And Trump went on to say that in his first day, he has attracted $3 trillion worth of investment to the United States of America. I want you to just think about that. So he's gone from Sleepy Joe, everyone in America being depressed, everyone being scared that they're going to lose their First Amendment rights, everyone is scared to talk, everyone is scared to speak their mind, to Donald Trump coming in saying he's going to let the people from January the 6th that weren't involved in violence free, and he's already started freeing those people. He's going to completely open up the floodgates of free speech in the United States once again, which was always what America was famous for. Being able to speak your mind, being able to say what you think. And in the same day as he's doing all this, he's closing the border. He's telling Panama they're going to give him back the canal. He's renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America so he can drill for oil there. He's saying he's going to drill, baby, drill. And on the same day as that, he manages to gather enough investors to invest $3 trillion in the United States economy. Now, why is that important to us? Well, at the moment, all the people in the UK who are money people, they're all leaving like rats leaving a sinking ship, and that's not an insult to the millionaires that are leaving. It's an insult to the sinking ship that Keir Starmer and his regime have literally hauled below the line with Rachel from accounts. So we're in a situation where America is going to get very rich because they're binning all the net zero nonsense. I'm sure they'll still be doing some renewable stuff. I mean, Elon Musk himself has made a fortune out of selling electric cars, so that's still going to go on. But Trump's well aware that to have an economy that's going to get anywhere in the 21st century, with all the power that's needed even to power these massive AI data centers. They need their own power. These AI data centers require so much electricity, they need their own power stations. So Trump realizes that he's got to drill, baby, drill. He's got to make fuel cheap. And in the UK, I think we have the most expensive electricity in Europe, possibly in the world. We have the most expensive petrol, and we are being ground into the dirt by this net zero nonsense that Red and Green Ed Miliband is into. And of course, if you listen to what Peter Hitchens has said about Starmer is fully engaged in this. Starmer's form of communism, and he is a communist, is what Peter Hitchens calls the Red-Green Alliance. And it's basically the eco nutcases and the communists joining together. And their whole idea is to send us back into something like the 17th century England, where, in fact, not even 17th century England, because we're not even allowed to have farmland anymore. So there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the UK. And when you look at what Trump has done, if you look at the press conference that Clueless Kia gave yesterday, Clueless Kia was literally trying to worm his way out of deceiving the British people over what happened at Southport and over hiding the truth. And still, and this is an interesting thing, even now, when this monster, I don't use his name, the monster, we saw the picture of him on Monday or Tuesday, when it was, the monster that murdered those beautiful 3 young girls, we still don't know what religion he was. And that's a very, very important question, because if he was a Muslim, there are implications with that. Because especially when we were told that this wasn't terrorism, especially when Keir Starmer was calling people racists and far right, that was suggesting that this was possibly an Islamic terrorist attack. And again, what evidence have we got? We've got the Al-Qaeda manual. We've got the production of ricin. We've got the fact that he was researching what happened in Libya. He was researching what happened in 2017, among other attacks. And now we've got the anecdotal evidence and the rumours about what was shouted when the attacks took place. And also we've got the very, very strong circumstantial evidence from eyewitnesses that the monster was a Muslim, that he was going to mosque in Belmarsh. We got that from Tommy, and we got that from sources within the prison. I'm not going to give anything more out about those sources within the prison. So why is the radio silence on this? Why is the radio silence on what's happened around this case? Now the case is settled. There can't be any contempt proceedings. The media should be drilling into this. We need to know why that monster did what he did. But getting back to Trump, so I don't want to dwell on that, because we dwell on that a lot. It's an important thing. It's massively important for the country. But I want to think about Trump, and there's a few. I looked at a few news stories about Trump, and it's amazing. It's amazing how negative a lot of the stuff about Trump is when you look at the mainstream media. Absolutely incredible. They're panicking because he's pulled out of the Paris Agreement. Red Ed says he's going to carry on with net zero. He says there's no turning back from net zero. Well, let's see if we actually get a decent government in the UK. And there's people putting, in the comments that the UK is finished. I don't believe the UK is finished, but I believe we've got 5 years to save it. And this is a unique opportunity to build alliance with America, build friendships with America. And sorry, guys. Sorry about that. That's how to know that I hadn't done my skills and drills and I hadn't turned off all my phones before I came on the live stream. So I do apologize for that. So basically, getting back to the situation with Trump, so much negativity in the mainstream media about Trump. People are pulling their hair out once again about Trump, but there's no stopping him. He's got so much power in America. There's absolutely no stopping. Yeah, that was the transporter. That was Donald, guys, but I had to hang up because obviously my views are far more important than taking a call from Donald Trump. So, Trump will just have to wait until this is all over. Okay, yeah, 51st state made up of us lot. I like that idea. I think that's a really good idea. But what I want to think about is what Trump is doing now to I know this is the problem. People pocket dialing me, people phoning. What's going to happen now is everybody's going to phone me now just to make sure my phones are actually off, but I'm going to turn the other one off as well. But no, so with Trump, he's already changing the world. Look at the deal. I mean, I don't like the deal that's been done in Israel. It seems to be a really bad deal. But at the end of the day, they're starting to release the hostages, and I would imagine that Trump and the Israelis have probably got something up the sleeve to basically deal with Hamas and make sure that Hamas can never have the power and the influence that it had in the Gaza Strip again. Let's hope that there's something there that they can actually do to curtail that power. But he's saying he's going to go after Iran. He's going to hit Iran with massive sanctions. So he's not backing down. He said with Putin, he's going to hit Putin with sanctions. So Trump could well be a president of world peace. Imagine if Trump stopped that war between Russia and Ukraine. As far as we know, and this is a conservative estimate, there could be way more. As far as we know, there are 800,000 Russians dead and 600,000 Ukrainians, and that could well be an underestimate. And like Trump was saying, when a lot of those tower blocks are getting hit in those Ukrainian cities and they're collapsing on people, they don't know how many people are killed inside some of those tower blocks. So there's massive civilian casualties. And again, from the point of view of just the human carnage, and I've said this for a long time, the war in Ukraine must stop, because there's no way that Zelensky is going to win, and there's no way that Putin's going to win. It's a stalemate, and what needs to happen is there needs to be some heads banged together. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely 100% believe that what Putin did was an act of aggression, that it was wrong, that he shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have invaded Ukraine. He's cost himself and his country massive casualties. And Zelensky, again, I think Zelensky has been less than conciliatory, because Zelensky must realize that he's not going to take those territories back that he's lost. It's impossible unless the West gets involved with massive aid and massive amounts of boots on the ground, and obviously pushing us towards a World War III situation. And the other thing about the Ukraine and Russia conflict, it is the only conflict that's going on live in the world at the minute that could end in the destruction of every single person that's watching this video. We could all be killed as a result of what's happening between Russia and Ukraine, because Russia still has a massive arsenal of thousands of nuclear weapons pointed at the West. And there does need to be a peace process. In Northern Ireland, people said there could never be a peace process in Northern Ireland. Believe you me, the peace in Northern Ireland is a very, very imperfect peace, and it always has been. But since 1998, the numbers of murders and terror-related incidents in Northern Ireland has completely fallen through the floor because of the peace process. So despite it being very imperfect, and despite nobody getting what they really wanted, it means that people aren't being killed. And I think that's what Trump will actually do. I think that's what Trump will actually do. I'd rather be killed than live under woke communism. Well, I mean, that's a fair point. Trump and Elon have a plan for Starmer, and he knows it. Yeah, I think Trump and Starmer hopefully do have. Sorry, Trump and Elon do have a plan for Starmer. To me, I mean, what amazes me about Starmer is that he's not getting absolutely slaughtered in the press for the way he covered up what happened in Southport, and the way there's breaking news story about a fatal stabbing incident in the Midlands yesterday. Anybody know anything more? I haven't heard anything about that, to be brutally honest with you. What's happening? NATO broke the deal made with Russia in Korea. Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, that Paul, that is absolutely true. There was a deal made, I think it was in the early 90s, between Gorbachev and I forget who the NATO Secretary General was, but there was a deal made. In fact, it wasn't. It was with the American. I think it was. Oh, was it Caspar Weinberg? I think it was Caspar Weinberg. It was one of the American Secretaries of State made a deal with the Russians, saying that if Germany was united, then NATO would not go any further than the German border. They pushed into Poland. They pushed into all those Eastern Bloc states. Now, I understand why that happened, because a lot of those countries had just come out of communism. They didn't want someone like Putin coming in invading their countries again. And obviously, once they were in NATO, that wouldn't happen. But from the Russian point of view, the deal that was broken. So the Russians don't trust the West, and the West don't trust the Russians. And can Donald Trump bring peace to Russia and Ukraine? And I honestly believe he can. Make sure you film all incidents so they can't cover up terror and my Ukraine. It was when the Berlin Wall. Yeah, exactly, Paul. It was when the Berlin Wall came down, and the deal was broken. And again, Putin in the early 2000s, and I think George Robertson was the leader of NATO at the time. Putin came to Robertson and said that he wanted to join NATO, and this was about the time of 9/11. And again, during 9/11, after 9/11, there was quite a lot of cooperation between the Russians and the West over Afghanistan and over the threat of Islamic and Islamist terrorism. So if he can get that war sorted out in Ukraine, remember, Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. Ukraine produces massive amounts of food for Europe and for the third world. So the war in Ukraine isn't just affecting the people of Ukraine, it's affecting everybody and putting everybody in danger. So to me, if the look at this comment, NATO has a lot to do with the Russia-Ukraine war. As you point out, Russia could destroy us all, but he hasn't. He wants peace as long as NATO. Yeah, and I think if that can be hammered out, because I think the thing about Trump is pragmatic. He's not a massive fan of NATO. I think he realizes it's a necessary alliance to keep the enemies at the gate from coming in. But the reality is, the Russians, we're not going to see Russian tanks trundling through London anytime soon. But if we keep pushing, there is a possibility that by accident, and I've said this on many occasions, that we end up in a nuclear war. And nobody wins a nuclear war. And I've said this many times before. If you want to find out about what happens in a nuclear war, I don't know what I did with the book. I think I put it away somewhere. But there's a very, very book that was published last year about a nuclear conflict. It goes into a lot of detail of how it can happen by one madman or completely by accident or both. So we've got to take these things very seriously. And I think the leaders like Starmer and Biden, who wasn't really a leader at all, but the ones around Biden, didn't understand the dangers of nuclear war. And I think Trump actually does understand. I saw him interviewed on Joe Rogan. He said it was one of the things that keeps him up at night, was worrying about if nuclear war happens and the results of that. Let's have a look at more of these comments. Great to see Elon Musk coming. Yes, absolutely. That is something I've been meaning to talk about. This is groundbreaking. And again, Farage is still doubling down on what he was doing. Farage is still fighting with himself over Tommy. Tommy's no interest in joining the Reform Party or any other political party for that matter. What Tommy's about is making films, building the cultural movement, bringing people together, doing the opposite of what people say he's doing. He's about uniting the kingdom. All of our events are about uniting people. Yes, we're going to dig out the government. We're going to attack Keir Starmer. We're going to attack all the lunatics that are trying to destroy our country. But we want to bring like-minded people together from all backgrounds, whether they be Christian, Muslim, Jew, black, white, brown. It doesn't matter. We want to bring people that love the United Kingdom together. That's what our movement's been about. And I'm not going to mention the guy's name, but there's a Muslim gentleman that our movement is helping at the minute. He's under real pressure, and he's under real pressure because he's not an extremist. He's the opposite of an extremist, and he's getting persecuted by the state, for standing up against Muslim extremists. I'm not going to say any more about that case or what's happening, but it's not good. Yes, Farage has become very tedious. He has indeed. Free Tommy Robinson, absolutely. We need to see Tommy free. Richard, what's this? Richard Inman, there any support for wheelchair users to London on the Tommy Robinson? I'm long, sick, disabled, patriot, would love it. We need systems from train. Okay, I'm trying to think how we can do this, because obviously we're on YouTube and we're on different platforms. I think on one of my YouTube channels there's an email address. If you could email me, in fact, if I can just grab it. Remind me about that, Bumblebee T. Remind me about that, because we will be able to get you assistance, but we'll need to know. So we're going to have stewards at the doors of the station, at the doors of Waterloo Station. So if you can get to the main entrance of Waterloo Station, if you're wheelchair bound, if there's someone with you, and then let us know, and we'll basically find a way of helping you. Yes, we can certainly assist you in that. And there's actually I think a wheelchair friendly exit to Waterloo Station. If you go right the way to the very end of the station where the taxi rank is, and then it's all kind of ramps and stuff around there, as far as I know. Obviously the other exits are escalators and steps, but once you get to Waterloo Station, there will be people there that can help with that. Okay. Hope Not Hate are doing the vetting. Yeah, well, they are. They really are. They really are. I'm surprised UK PMs don't pardon people from prison before leaving office as they do power crazy. Have dropped the regime. The Trisme charge against tomorrow. It's ridiculous. That disgraceful charge was brought. Oh, right. They've dropped. Okay, they've dropped the terrorism charge against him tomorrow. Okay. Well, I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's really, if they've done that, that's really good news. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, Tommy should be pardoned. Tommy should be free. Tommy should not be in prison. Tommy, and I believe when Tommy comes out, we've got to make sure that he never goes to prison again. We've got to get, we've got to get legal people around him. Trump's offered Putin a place in the Artemis program in return for peace in Ukraine. I don't have a clue what that is, but if you want to enlighten me, feel free to put some more detail in the comments. Yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that I'm absolutely convinced that when Tommy gets out, he's going to have a massive part to play in the political life of the UK without even joining a political party. I'm absolutely convinced of that, because otherwise, we're going to be in a situation where it's just going to be, we're going to be chasing our tails, and we're not going to be getting anywhere. Tommy needs to be fully engaged in the political process, and Farage is going to have to back down on this one at some point. And it doesn't matter how he does it, but if it looks like reform is going to be the next government, which at the moment I don't think it will, because I think Farage has been far too divisive. I think Farage needs to be a lot more conciliatory, and he needs to work with that lot. He needs to work with. Will Tom be getting on an HDC tag so he can be released? So that is something that's been worked on, as far as I know, in the background. Again, I'm not involved in the legal process with Tommy. Obviously, people that I know very well are involved in the legal process, but I'm not fully sure what's going on in that respect. The other thing I was thinking about as well today was the issue with Iran, because again, I think the leaders of Iran will be very, very worried now, because obviously with Trump in power, and again, it depends on what happens with Israel. If Netanyahu gets booted out of power in Israel, if Naftali Bennett gets in, there's maybe a bit of hope of dealing with Iran. If it's a left-wing government, I think Israel's going to be in trouble. And quite often this happens when there's a war, and even if the war leader's done well. And I think, to be fair to Netanyahu, he has done fairly well. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of this deal they've just done, but for the sake of the hostages, if my kids were in there, or my family were in there, or my wife, my parents were in those horrendous conditions, or even my grandchildren, I'm sure I would want them out pretty much at any cost. But again, from the point of view of the overall process in the Middle East, I'm not sure how good it is rewarding terrorists for taking hostages. But what other option did Netanyahu have? I don't know. And but anyway, it would be amazing to end the wars. And this is what I'm thinking. I mean, if Trump puts maximum pressure on Iran now, they may not even have to fire a shot against Iran. What needs to happen is regime change. Now that can come within. Those mad mullahs that have tortured the poor people of Iran for so long, they basically need to go. Because wouldn't it be an amazing thing if there actually was peace in the Middle East, and that the extremists, and I think we need to put the blame where the blame is due. The blame is at the feet of Islamist, jihadist, fundamentalist Islamic extremists that have an ideology that will only settle for the destruction of Israel. That's what we're up against. And of course, in the United Kingdom and in the West, the far left, the communist nutcases and the Islamist nutcases have. Sorry, let's have a look at that one. As a Christian, you should know who comes in peace and safety. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, the reality is the problem that we're facing in the world is excessively evil, and it is really made up of the Islamists and the communists and the far left. They're the people who are dividing us. Yes, the far right, the few hundred, nutcases that are white supremacists on the right in the UK are a problem, but they're not a major problem because they don't have any power, they don't have any influence, whereas the Islamists and the communists and the socialists have power. They actually have power in the UK. I want us to realize that the Islamists and the communists and the socialists, they are the ones that are calling the shots. They're the ones that are controlling the game at the minute. Okay? So they are in power. And we've got to realize that. We've got to accept that. So from the point of view of the Middle East, the power needs to be taken away from them. And that means dealing with Qatar. Because Qatar pretends to be an honest broker, pretends to be this nation that's bringing peace. But Qatar, as we know, was the home of the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood for many, many years. Hamas leaders made their home in Qatar. Qatar, as far as we're led to believe, poured masses of money into these jihadist groups that were fighting in Syria. And Saudi Arabia did, for that matter. But Saudi seems to be coming out of the dark ages and into the 20th century first, and then maybe into the 21st century. So if these regimes continue to go on the trajectory they're going, we've got hope of peace. If we end up in a situation where Turkey, under Erdogan, and Erdogan's desire to be the caliph, get more and more power and influence in Syria, in Iraq, and start pushing against the Shia, pushing against the Christians, pushing against the Kurds, like they're doing, then we've got a problem, because obviously we're joined at the hip with the Turks because of NATO. So again, this is another reason that NATO needs to be looked at. And one of the problems I do have with Trump is very, very close to Erdogan. He's got a good relationship with Erdogan. Now, obviously, when you look at Trump, you see the way he reacts with people. He's very good on an interpersonal level. He is a leader, and he's very good at that. But I am worried about Trump's closeness to Erdogan, and I hope that there are good people around him that can warn him that Erdogan is not everything that he seems. Okay, let's have a look at this. Trump has just announced he is supporting huge industry. Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier on. 500 billion has been spent on the new AI data centers. Now, why is it important that this is going to happen? People are going to mess about with AI. I'm very worried about AI. I think AI is very, very dangerous. But what I would hope with Trump is that, again, because of the people that are around Trump, because he's got conservative Christians around him, because he's got very, very wise people around him, that Trump would be made aware of the dangers of AI, and he would also be made aware of what checks and balances need to be put in place to keep AI from running away and becoming a real problem in the world. Because obviously, artificial general intelligence is the first stage. What the guys were talking about last night on the press conference with Trump was super artificial generative intelligence. So in other words, this is a level of intelligence that is beyond human understanding. That is scary and very dangerous, and that needs to be kept in check. AI cannot become God. It never will, because God is God. But what we've got to be very careful of, and even as we're interacting with AI, and I use AI a lot, I think it's a very good tool. But again, we mustn't be mastered by the tools. And what's happening with AI is dangerous. So because Trump is in control of this, I think that's important. Trump isn't the savior, our Lord and Jesus Christ. Trump has admitted on TV that he's not a Christian. Well, what Trump did do, he did give glory to God. And I know there are a lot of Christian pastors around Trump. And in the same way that, there's people here in the UK that aren't Christians, but they're very sympathetic to the Christian message and the Christian cause. We've had on our demos in London, the past 4 demos, We've had Christian preachers at every single one of them. And that changes the atmosphere. So the fact that there are Christians around Trump, of course, it would be great if Trump was a Christian, but the fact that there are Christians around Trump has to be a positive thing. And I would agree that Trump is not the savior. Jesus Christ is the savior, but Jesus Christ can work through ungodly or non-Christian or non-believing leaders. He did it with Nebuchadnezzar. He did it with King Cyrus in the Old Testament, because God's in control of everything. So I don't think we need to worry too much. I don't think we need to worry too much about whether Trump is a Christian or not. It would be a lot better if he was a Christian. It would be a lot better if we were all Christians. But I do believe that he is under the influence, let's say, of a lot of Christian people. Okay, let's look at this. They are presenting AI like it's otherworldly, outside of humans, but AI is not otherworldly. It wasn't. Yes, it is created by humans. I absolutely agree with that. And the danger is that, almost like, you know, the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, that the AI will rebel against the humans. And that's the worry that we've got. That's the danger that we've got to worry about. But I think that's where the checks and balances need to be put in, and we'll obviously see what happens with that. I want to pivot back to the UK, and I want us to think about the 1st of February, because obviously the 1st of February is going to be our first chance. And just let me know in the comments, guys, if you're actually going on the 1st of February, because we haven't got a clue how many people are coming or not coming. So let me know if you're actually going to be coming to our event on the 1st of February. By the way, there's 700 people watching live now, which is great for lunchtime. Let me know how many people are watching this sneakily on your computers in work with your headphones on, and nobody knowing, your boss not knowing that you're watching one of these crazy right-wing nutcases talking about Donald Trump. Great. 4D, be good to see you there. We need a big turnout on the 1st. It's going to be cold. It's going to, well, will it be wet? We don't know, but it's certainly going to be cold because it's the middle of February. It's going to be the first one that we've done of this year, but we need to have tens of thousands of people. And I'll tell you why. Starmer, we're going to be at Downing Street. Starmer needs to hear our voices. He needs to know how unpopular he is. He needs to know that he might have won an election, but he doesn't represent us. He might be our prime minister, and unfortunately he is our prime minister, but he doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent my values. He doesn't represent my views. And we need to let him know that in 4 years' time, we're going to get rid of him. He's going to be gone. And I believe that because of Southport and because of the way the people were locked up almost summarily in political show trials, I believe that Starmer may well have broken some laws himself. I mean, again, I'm not a legal expert. And of course, Starmer is a legal expert. He's a legalist. However, I would love to see Starmer before a court for what happened in the aftermath of Southport, for misleading the British people. And he did mislead us. And he's still misleading us, actually, for that matter, for insisting and obviously putting pressure, as it seems that he put pressure on the legal system to lock a lot of people up. And I would like to see Starmer certainly answer to an inquiry and possibly answer to a court, along with all the rest of them that are around him, because these people are dangerous. I genuinely believe that Keir Starmer and his like are dangerous people. And what we've got to do is we've got to stand up for what's right. We've got to stand up for our people, and we've got to make sure that that we never have a government like Starmer's government ever again. And I'm not sure. I mean, you see, this is the thing. I'm not sure. Is lying in public office a criminal offence? I'm not sure that it is. And that's the problem. God says that's true. That is absolutely true. That's exactly what the Bible says. And it's important that we kind of get that, because the reality is that that without God, we can't do anything. And we find that out very quickly when we try to do things on our own. It should be a criminal offence. I totally agree. Don't have funds, and I don't fancy a 73-hour walk there one way. Martin, I appreciate that. Listen, it's very difficult at the moment. I mean, I know exactly how you're feeling. I mean, it is literally you know, I think a lot of us are under massive financial pressure. And if you're involved in this movement, you will be under pressure because a lot of outgoings, it affects your ability to earn a living, and it takes a lot of your time. So it is very, very difficult for a lot of us at the minute. And I totally get that. What do we got here? I wonder if he pardons himself and all the key players when he leaves. I don't know whether that's legal in the UK. I think the pardoning thing is Starmer couldn't prejudice the staff or attack his case, but it was okay. Yeah, well, this is the whole thing. I mean, what he said yesterday, I believe was untrue. I believe he was lying when he said he was worried about prejudicing the case, because they let all the information out about what this guy had done 2 months later. He did it because he was panicking that the British would start attacking different demographics. That's why he did it, if there was any good reason for doing it. But it wasn't a good reason, because it actually had the opposite effect. If Starmer had come out on the steps of Downing Street and said, you know what, this terrible attack's happened, it's been carried out by terrorists, we're going to deal with it, we're going to look at why people are getting radicalized and carrying out these attacks, we're going to look at why people are getting these verses from the Quran and carrying out violence, and we're going to deal with that. If he'd have come out and said something like that, there wouldn't have been a problem. I don't think there would have been any riots, but he didn't do that. He did the opposite. He did the absolute opposite. Yeah. Well, for one, if that woman had known a Bible, she'd realise that the Bible says, I suffer not a woman to teach or usurp authority over the man. So there shouldn't be women bishops or women priests, because the Bible says there shouldn't. And that's not me being sexist or anti-woman or anti-feminist. It's just very simply what the Bible says. Well, Flash 101, I will do my best. I mean, again, obviously, the problems that we've got are time. It's as simple as that. I am impossibly busy. I've got all sorts of stuff going on in my personal life. I've got all sorts of stuff going on in the movement. We're doing the pledge. The pledge, I mean, is costing a huge amount of time and money as well. It's going to be worth it, because the pledge, I believe the pledge is going to make a massive difference. Once we get up to over 100,000, that's going to make a big difference. Once we get to over 1 million, then we're a major political player. And I believe we can do that with the pledge. And I just want to say again, if you haven't signed the pledge, let me just get the site up here. Sorry, guys. Pledge. Just going to... Okay. Okie dokie. So... Where are we? Let's get this up on the screen here, guys. So there we go. If you go to the pledge, pledge.org.uk, and if you haven't signed it, please jump on. Let me know you can still hear me while I'm showing this. Signed and got my... That's fantastic. Signed and got my family to sign. That's brilliant. So let's just go back to... Yeah, so please dive on and sign the pledge. If you haven't signed it, it's the pledge.org.uk. I'll just put it in here. Okay, pledge.org.uk. Yeah, guys, jump on there, sign up. Just get that on the screen. The pledge, just make sure I spell that right, the pledge.org.uk. Yeah, I totally agree with that. What we're going to do, again, all of us that are involved in the pledge, we all have loads of other stuff going on. We all have businesses and jobs and families and other bits that we're doing in the movement and organising demos and all this sort of stuff. But the pledge is so important. The pledge is massive. I'm going to look at these little bits and pieces on the pledge, because I want to get feedback from you guys. How many more marches and pledges do we need? This is farcical. That's encouraging, Anna. Let me explain why the pledge is really important, Anna. Okay, because the reality is. Sorry, let me just have a look at this. Yeah, John's was a great idea to basically sign the pledge. It's free. I mean, yeah. So Anna, I mean, one, the pledge isn't going to cost you anything to sign it. Okay, that's the first thing. And look, anybody that criticizes the pledge, I want to try and be as nice as possible to you. okay? Because everybody's got their own ideas and their own ways of doing things. But the idea behind the pledge is very simple. Those principles that we've got, everybody that signs the pledge gives us their email address, their mobile number, their name. Okay. They also give us the first part of their postcode. We don't want the whole lot, because obviously if you get the whole lot of someone's postcode, you've pretty much got their address. The pledge, the idea behind the pledge is, come an election, if you're in a marginal seat with, say, a majority of 500, and we've got 500 people in that area that have signed the pledge, or 1,000 people, we can actually win seats for any of the candidates that sign up to the principles in the pledge. So the pledge is not just an idea that's not going to go anywhere. The pledge, when Ben was signed it, I think Freud and Tice got rid of. No, I mean, I think Ben was already out of reform then. He was leaving anyway. And well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing about the pledge. Any party that doesn't sign it, if you don't sign the pledge, it's very simple. As a politician, we will then find politicians that have signed the pledge. Yeah, well, your name says it all, Anna, doesn't it? Your name says it all. You know, you're obviously a troll. The fact that you think it's funny to put a name up about that subject, I'm going to actually block you, I think, now, Anna, because I think you are a troll and you are banned. So bye, Anna. There's just no point in interacting with someone that's going to be abusive. Okay, so getting back to the pledge. Thanks, Black Bess. Brilliant. So getting back to the pledge. The pledge can win elections. It's as simple as that. And what we've got, everything is so fragmented on the right at the minute with parties. We need something that people can unify around, because we've got UKIP, we've got Reform, we've got loads of little micro parties, we've got Ben Habib doing his own thing. The pledge sits above all that, because the pledge is the ideology that we all believe. So yeah, okay. You, the people, must form your own political party now. To be honest with you, I think we've got to wait and see what happens. If we get the pledge, I mean, like, the pledge is on about 70,000 people signed up. We haven't spent any money on marketing. We spent a lot of money on developing the website. Believe you me, I think that website is probably sitting, this is conservatively, it's probably costing, including the email system, about $5,000. And that's not including my time and the, you know, a lot of the other stuff that we've done in the background. So there's a lot of effort, time, and money gone into the pledge. So when you have someone like this, oh, there we go. This woman's come back calling herself Anna Borrance. If anybody, I think what we'll have to do is just ban anyone called Anna and the second name B. But look, we'll just ignore that. It's good fun to get a few trolls anyway. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, Rosie, she's gone. She's gone. No doubt she'll come back again. Well, this is the thing. I mean, whoever Anna Borrance is, and I don't really care. The truth of the matter is, they're not the ones that are putting the head. They're not the ones who've had their careers destroyed, businesses destroyed, reputations destroyed for standing for freedom, standing with Tommy Robinson. So, you know, it's actually quite funny. I mean, you know, if they're talking about me, they're not talking about somebody else. You know, funny. Someone said that like Richard Inman instead of Paul Thorpe. Well, Paul's my mate, so don't have got Paul either. Yeah. The UK needs to be aware of the threat from. That's another point. This is a very worrying thing that's happened with with Rachel from accounts. Rachel from accounts has gone scurrying off to the Chinese to beg the Chinese for money. Well, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a good deal with Trump and with the Americans, or Rachel from accounts running off to China to get a £600 million deal to buy dodgy solar panels? But yeah, I mean, this is Richard, the attitude of a true Swaggy. You better believe it, fella. You better believe it. Oh man. Sorry, let's go back to this QR code with a short video link. Yeah, do you know what? We're gonna. There's a lot more we're gonna do with the pledge. We're gonna have a meeting. There's a team of us that run the pledge. We're gonna have a meeting, and we're gonna see what we can get sorted out. The other thing is, yeah, of course, we've got this thing happening in Davos, haven't we? The World Economic Forum thing. And remember what Keir Starmer said, guys. Keir Starmer said he'd rather be at Davos than be with us here in the UK and be in Parliament, actually taking part in the oldest and greatest democracy Britain and the world has ever seen. Let's have a look. What else we got here? Yeah, I saw that. China has built a sun. What could possibly go wrong? You know, because the Chinese are really good at doing stuff that doesn't go wrong, like viruses and all that sort of stuff, you know. So they built the sun. Yeah, that does worry me a little bit. I saw that on the news this morning. Yeah, I'd agree with that, Baldrick. You are listening to Richard, who censored someone. Fascinating. Well, do you know what? It's my channel. I'll do what I want. What else have we got here? The only reason Trump is holding back on tariffs to the UK is because his personal interests in there, but he's a chess player. Very, very true. There seems to be a race among the worldly powers to see who can create the robot digital high tech first. The working class, middle class. Yeah, I agree with that, Bon, 100%. They don't care about us, to be brutally honest with you. Yeah, Paul's doing fine. Paul's doing fine. Richard, I agree with more than any others. They're good, but for some reason Richard says things that I think more. Chris, I really appreciate that. Thanks very much for that. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up shortly, guys, because I've been going for nearly an hour now. Sky News Burns will be now Trump is. Yeah, Sky News are not happy. I read an article earlier on today. It's about Starmer, where they were saying how great Starmer was. So Sky News and the BBC are just the mouthpieces of the far left. Unfortunately, it's very sad because it didn't used to be like that, but it is like that. AI used to model witty lockdowns. Always a human got control, but yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing is, if we ever get to a situation where the humans haven't got the control button. Support you. We started tough, but we were successful with Trump. US. That's great. I mean, we need all the help we can get from the US. We need all the help that we can get from the US. Well, guys, listen. I'll get back to the first of February. So 1st of February, we are going to be at Waterloo Road, Sandal Street Junction. That lady that was on earlier. Once you get to Waterloo Station, obviously there'll be people within Waterloo Station. I would imagine station staff that will be able to point you to the disabled exit from Waterloo Station. Once you get there, if it's the taxi rank, if that's where I think it is, it's the very far end of the station. Once you get there, we'll have stewards and security that will be there, so they'll be able to meet you, and we'll probably be able to get someone to come and help you. And then once you get on the walk, it should be okay because it's all flat. There's not going to be any hills, so it should all be very flat. Just getting out the station is probably going to be the difficult thing there. So we'll certainly try and help with that. And again, it's a good thing to I'll make a note of that as well and talk to the security guys and the stewards about getting that done. So 12 o'clock, 1st of February at Waterloo Station, Sandal Street, Waterloo Road Junction. We're all going to be in Sandal Street to start off until that fills up. I think that probably takes about 10,000 people to fill that up. Once that's happened, we'll then start moving into Waterloo Road, and the road will be blocked once we have a critical mass of people. Then we set off on the walk at 1 o'clock, so we're not hanging about too long in the cold. Probably get to Downing Street about 1:30, 1:45. Speeches and music start at 2. That's going to go on for 3 hours. Finish at 5 o'clock. and then everybody goes home. But it's really important we're there, because we're going to be talking about the prisoners. We're going to be talking about the lying government. We're going to be talking about Tommy. We're going to be talking about the grooming. We're going to be talking about what that monster has done, and we're going to be talking about how we fix all that. So there's going to be some great speakers there. I'm not going to give the list away because we're keeping that under wraps for now. But it's going to be some really good people from very, very diverse backgrounds, and it's going to be an enjoyable day. The other thing is, when you come to these things, we want everyone that comes to them to actually enjoy yourselves and have a good time. That's what it's all about. If you want to support what we're doing, I think there's a link on the Richard Inman channel on YouTube that you can click on if you want to support us. I didn't do that at all until about 2 or 3 months ago, when somebody came to me and said, look, Richard, we actually want to support you, but we don't know how to. Okay, so if people want to support us, they can. I'm not doing a subscription model, because of obviously the censorship of what I've been involved with Tommy in the past. I can't get any channels monetized. So if you want to support me, there is a link in the description on my own personal YouTube channel, and also that link is on. Well, there's a link on Twitter for Buy Me a Coffee, and there's a link on the Counter Media YouTube channel to the PayPal account. So if you want to support me, feel free. Again, there's only if you can afford it, and only if you feel called to do it. But it does help. It helps my costs. It helps me basically do more of this sort of stuff, because obviously when I'm doing this stuff, it's taking time, and as they say, time is money. Well, guys, listen. Thank you very much for everybody that's come on, everybody that's watched. We've stayed steady. I'm censoring criticism because I just don't want to come on a stream and just get abused by someone that's just ignorant and stupid, really. And it was a troll, so I'm not censoring anybody, really. I'm just not interested in people coming on and being negative. So if you're getting on like an idiot, you're just going to get banned from the channel, really. And it was a troll anyway, so I wouldn't worry about it. Love and peace of Jesus Christ be with you all. Thank you very much for that. That's fantastic. We are the last generation. This is it. We've got 5 years to save the country, guys. We have literally got 5 years to save the country. If we don't save the country in the next 5 years, there we go. Yeah, thank you very much, Gary, for that. Brilliant, Firefly. Thanks so much for doing that. Thanks for all the compliments. Thanks for all the people that are supportive. Yeah, we don't need trolls. I mean, look, if you're going to come on and troll me on my own account, I'm just going to ban you. So it doesn't really matter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. She was trolling, not having it. That's exactly it to me. If somebody wants to ask genuine questions about the pledge, fine. But if you just come and start attacking it, one, it shows you're probably not very intelligent and you don't understand the concept. Because I can't understand anyone that's intelligent not supporting it, unless they've just got a personal grudge against me, which is highly possible, because plenty of people do. I wonder, is Starmer think he can beat Trump? No, nobody's going to beat the Americans on air. Totally agree. Sorry. Totally agree, Richard. The new username was disgusting. It was vile, and anyone that's going to put something like that on is very, very. It's very insulting to women, actually. Apart from anything else. Okay. All the best. Thank you very much, Kay. Thank you well, Sandra. Thanks for the support. Thanks for coming on the channels and watching. Listen, 700 people. I've stayed steady right the way through lunch. About 700 people. I'm going to try and do these, I think, a couple of times a week, because I think doing something at lunchtime is a lot of people on the computers between 1 and 2, or between 12 and 1, so it'll be sometime around that time. And it just basically means that we've got more we've got more content for people to look at, and you can have an understanding of what we're wanting to do and where we're coming from. And again, I think it's very simple with our movement. We've got the cultural movement, which is the Uniting the Kingdom movement, which really is led by Tommy. I mean, let's just get it right. But there's a lot of other people involved. Then we've got the pledge, which is led by no one. It's the People's Pledge. It's yours. It was, yes, we all worked on it and we all put the thing together, but it is basically the People's Pledge, and that is there as a tool to call political parties and everybody to account. Because I think if you look at the pledge and you believe in what's in the pledge, then you shouldn't really, there shouldn't be anyone who's got a brain in the head that can't sign that thing. I think it's fantastic. 5 years. Yeah, that is the problem, and they're already doing it. I mean, when they're trying to change the voting system, they're trying to get it so the foreign nationals can vote. They're trying to get it so 16-year-olds can vote. They're going to do away with any idea of voter ID, and of course, what you're going to get is massive voter fraud from the preferred demographic. We've got to be very, very careful. We've got to be very, very careful. Finland's midday debate. Yep. No, look, I'm not gonna. It's not a. I do appreciate the compliments, but it's not about that. We're all in this together. We're all doing this together, and we're all going to try and. Oh, sorry. Big support from Middlesbrough. Please make UK least safe for. Yeah. Well, thanks to Truth Hurts. You know, I was born in Liverpool, brought up in Middlesbrough, and then lived in Belfast. So I've lived in probably the most working class parts of our country, and I'm proud to say that. And it's the British working class that are basically it's the British working class who are basically sorry. Yeah, it's the British working class that are basically going to fight this fight. So yeah, let's just keep doing what we're doing, guys. I'm going to shoot. So I will see you all soon. And again, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for supporting what we're doing. And you know, yeah, that's what it's all about. We've just got to keep on going and just ignore the trolls and block them and ban them and get rid of them because they're not worth bothering. What's this? Who would win a fight? You or Paul? Get out of here. Get out of here. At 86 years old, I find you, Brian. I really appreciate that, brother. That's really, really nice. Thanks so much. Going to be looking at the people's bank accounts. If they owe money back, they will stop them. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. Paul is great. Wears his heart on his sleeve. Yeah, he does. Absolutely. Richard, what's that one? Unless we change from a monarchy to a republic, we'll never change any laws implemented. Guys, it's an hour. I'm going to go. I always say I try to keep these to an hour. It's been an hour. I'm going to go. Again, guys, great. Like Graham says, don't forget to sign the pledge. Pledge.org.uk. Get on it, sign it, and we'll make sure that. Look, this is about saving the country. This is about keeping our kids and grandkids safe. It's not about anything else. So let's get on and sign the pledge. Let's make this work. And I will see you guys all soon. If you've enjoyed what I've done, share this with other people. Share it on whatever platforms you're on. And let's just keep going. And stuff the haters. And I will see you all very, very soon. God bless.